So today we're diving into the powerful and, let's be honest, sometimes really challenging ideas from the bestseller, The Courage to Be Disliked. This book lays out a pretty radical path for changing your life and finding real happiness. You ever feel kind of trapped by your own history? Like you're convinced that past mistakes or traumas have basically set your life in stone? It's a super common feeling, right? This sense that we're just the sum of everything that's ever happened to us. But what if that just wasn't true? The philosophy in this book, which is all based on the work of psychologist Alfred Adler, it offers a totally different way to look at your life. It's a path that's all about freedom and purpose, starting right here, right now. So how do we even begin?
Okay, our first stop is a huge shift in perspective. You can think of it like a battle between two completely different ways of understanding why we do the things we do. Are we looking backward at our past, or are we looking forward to our purpose?
So on one side, you've got etiology. That's the familiar idea that our present is basically dictated by past events. And on the other side, you've got teleology, this pretty radical view that what we do is actually driven by the goals we have right now. Let's see how these two clash. Etiology is the story we all know, right? It's the I am this way because of what happened to me. It sees your life as this long chain of cause and effect, where your history pretty much writes your future. If you feel stuck, well, it's your past's fault. Teleology just flips that script completely. It asks, okay, but what is the purpose of this behavior? So for example, someone might not be a shut-in because they were bullied in the past, but because, right now, they have the goal of avoiding conflict. See the difference? It's a total reframing. Now, this is so important. This philosophy is not saying that painful things don't happen or that they don't affect us. It absolutely acknowledges suffering. What it denies is that your trauma gets the final say. It denies that it has ultimate control over your destiny. And this is the core takeaway right here. No matter what has happened, you have the power to choose your path. Right now, in this moment. The actions you're taking today are what truly shape your life. How empowering is that? All right, let's move on to the next big idea. And trust me, this one is a real game changer. What if I told you that all your personal struggles, even your deepest anxieties, they're not really about you? According to Adler, this is it. This is the foundation of all our unhappiness. Every single problem, when you really trace it back to its root, comes from our relationships with other people. I know it sounds extreme, but let's see how it plays out. Just think about it for a second. That feeling of inferiority, it literally can't exist unless you're comparing yourself to someone else. Anxiety? So often, that's just a fear of what other people are going to think. Even something that feels so internal, like loneliness, it comes from a fear of being judged or rejected by the group. We're not afraid to fail. We're afraid of being seen failing. This leads us to a really crucial distinction. We often get trapped in what are called vertical relationships, where we're constantly ranking people. They're above me, I'm above them, and that is just a recipe for competition and feeling inferior. The goal is to build horizontal relationships, where we see everyone as different, sure, but equal. That's what creates a real sense of community and ultimately psychological freedom. Okay, so if all of our problems are social, how do we actually navigate them without completely losing ourselves? Let's get into what might be the most powerful, practical tool the book offers for finding that freedom. It's called the separation of tasks. The idea is actually pretty simple, but it is profound. You have to figure out what's your responsibility, your task, and what belongs to someone else. And the key question you have to ask is this: who ultimately has to deal with the consequences of this decision? Just look at these examples. They make it so clear. It is your task to confess your feelings to someone, but it is 100% their task how they react to it. It's your task to live by your values, but it's completely their task whether they like you for it or not. When we start trying to control their tasks, that's where all the suffering comes from. So here's the bottom line. The moment you start living your life to get approval or recognition from other people, you've just given up your freedom. You become a slave to what they expect, and your whole motivation becomes fragile and, honestly, just unfulfilling. And that brings us to our final section, where we're going to tie all of this together. So we've unhooked ourselves from the past, we've separated our tasks from other people's. Now what? What's the ultimate goal? How do we find real, lasting happiness? Well, the philosophy argues that our deepest suffering comes from one simple, misguided belief, that we are the center of the world. When we see everything through the lens of, how does this affect me? Do they like me? Do I look good? Well, life just becomes this constant source of stress and anxiety. See, we're taught our whole lives that the goal is to chase recognition, to get validation from others as proof of our worth. But this philosophy says that is a trap. The true path to fulfillment isn't recognition. It's contribution. It's about shifting your entire focus from what can I get to what can I give. This leads to what Adler called a community feeling. It's this deep sense that you're part of something much bigger than just yourself. And when you feel that, your personal value isn't based on praise anymore. It's based on the contribution you're making to the whole. And it works because it connects us and gives us a sense of purpose that doesn't depend on anyone else's approval. And I love this reversal. We usually think that focusing on our own happiness is selfish. But this view suggests that being happy is actually your duty. Because when you're happy and free, that's when you're in the best possible position to contribute your unique gifts to the world. And so here we are, at the core message of it all. Real freedom is not about being liked by everyone. That's just impossible. True freedom is finding the courage to be disliked for living a life that is truly, authentically your own. So I'm going to leave you with this to think about. If you could really, truly let go of the need for everyone's approval, if you had the courage to be disliked, what would you do differently starting right now?